Embu was a buzz yesterday, the 60th Madaraka Day celebrations, and many things were done. There was pomp and circumstance. People traveled, governors were in mighty show of, allegiance, etc., etc. The chair of the African Union, Mohamed Faki, was there. He gave his speech, talked about, the hope for Kenya and Africa. There was many things that were said. Other things that were said as well were promises. There were more promises that were made by the president when he took to the podium yesterday. One thing that he started out with was urging the country to back his reform plan. And now we've seen all of this being called a reform plan. Before it was, whatever else it was. But yesterday we heard the words reform come out very many times. Essentially, reform means that you want to fix things that have gone awry. You want to fix things that have gone wrong, or essentially plummeting down the rabbit hole. And so he's saying the future can only be safeguarded through the measures that are being put in place today. So he's come out with a different stance in terms of his approach and said, look, what I'm trying to do is make sure that there's a Kenya to live in tomorrow, that there's a Kenya to live in the future. So these things that look a little bumpy today, the things that maybe are going to press you on each side a little bit here and there, it's only to guarantee a future. So just work with me on this, Kenyans. And that was his plea yesterday as he made the speech. And these now took the shape of promises that he then made. But let me look at the highlights. He talked about affordable housing, the thing that has been, a buzz over the last few weeks. He said this program is to enable the true hustler, the mamamboga, to access and afford a mortgage. Okay? Let us embark on this journey towards home ownership together. He was very clear about that. He then went on to say that he wants to prioritize processing and value addition of agricultural products, because he also realizes and understands that one of the drivers of this economy will be agriculture. So we must do everything that we can to put in to have the necessary inputs for the desired outcome. It's being achieved through the establishment of county industrial parks, and we saw the names of those, which I'll tell you in a bit. Government has stepped up the establishment of 5 additional export zones in the next financial year that didn't exist before in Sagana, Thika, Njoro, Eldoret, and Busia. So you can see there's, widespread, and it's countrywide, widespread activity when it comes to these zones, not just in one place. This is one that was interesting for a lot of people. City liked it very much. Borders will be able to ride electric motorcycles by September, June, July, August, in 3 months' time. What they will be able to do, this is because the cost of petroleum on the global scale is rising by the day. We've also had to increase fuel from 8% in terms of VAT to 16%, which is also now in the finance bill. And because of that, we're going to see that fuel will be deathly expensive. Now, borders riders who make up a majority of the hustlers will then have some reprieve, because in September there will be electric motorcycles. So what you need to do, plug and play. You don't have to buy fuel again. So just be ready for that one. The government is committed to delivering universal health coverage that enables every Kenyan attain dignified health care at a minimal cost. So you can walk into hospital, you can get the treatment that you need, get diagnoses, get on treatment, whether it is instant or it is over time, at a cost. And this cost is prepaid, right? When you pay every month towards NHIF, which is the driver of UHC, then when in the unfortunate event that you are unwell, you can go to hospital. If you need to be admitted, you will be able to do so and not break the bank. The president said he's keen on this. And finally, the National Open University will obtain its charter this month of June, and its courses are being currently uploaded for commissioning. Those are the highlights of what he said yesterday. But he made it clear from the onset, I'm doing this for
all of us.
For all of us. That a Kenya that prospers tomorrow has to slightly be suffered for today. It's going to hurt a little bit. There'll be a bit of a pinch, but it's the guarantee of future. And that future, as we see from some of these things, can be in 3 months' time, in 6 months' time, in a year's time, but it will be. Okay? Now, he said the indignity of slum life is something that drives him up the wall. He doesn't like it. And those are some of the issues that they're trying to address with this housing levy. So will you not see it from a point of dignity? Will you not see it from a point of wanting to make life better for those who seek to have their names written down in the book of home ownership? Will you not see it as job creation for people who work in a sector in back-breaking work? So that was his appeal. Look at it from those 3 places. We're dignifying people. We're allowing others to own homes. And finally, we're giving jobs to those people who work in the informal sector in this back-breaking, sun-scorching job. So those are the things that we want to do, and those are the things that we want you to understand. And that was really what his speech was around yesterday. So it was imploring Kenyans to understand. One thing he did say, which he took a bit of a harder stance toward, don't think these taxes are going to come down. They will not. Where do you expect us to get the money from? If we do not tax, we don't get the money. We cannot guarantee a better livelihood for Kenyans. And there ends my speech on the president's speech
Right
yesterday.
there is the problem. Right there.
Where?
You will pay these taxes whether you like it or not. Right there is the problem. Everything the president says is true. Everything. With regards to taxes, with regards to housing, with regards to the social determinants of housing and what it does to your social status, what it does to your mental health, what it does to your dignity, what it does, all those things are absolutely true. The problem, however, are not those truths. The problem is a simple matter that this president has inherited. It is called the trust that people have in their government. The Uhuru government went on a rampage of borrowing and borrowed and borrowed and borrowed and borrowed and borrowed.
Yeah.
10 years down the line, those debts have now come due.
Yeah.
Okay? The burden falls on this current president. So now, whatever reasons may be given, we are not dealing with an absence of understanding from the citizens as to the benefits of what is being said. We are dealing with a situation where the people do not believe what their government tells them. They do not believe that what they're being told is what happened. In short, they just do not trust the government. Now, when I say right there is a problem. If you have a problem of trust or mistrust or distrust, however you want to phrase it, and you present a fait accompli, you present a situation where there's no wiggling room, you are then saying that, yes, I may understand what it is I believe you are trying to tell me, but I'm going to continue telling you to do what I want you to do. And yet, that guarantees that there'll be pushback even on something that may be good. This housing issue is a really good thing. Housing.
It's a brilliant idea.
It is a really, 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 really good thing. The idea of people being able to save money, the idea of Kenyans learning the benefits of saving so that we have a saving culture is a truly marvelous thing. Countries that lend us money because their citizens understand it. They lend us their citizens' money. That's how they're able to lend us, because those people save money. These are good things. But against this backdrop of what I have said, where you are functioning, you want to achieve things, but the people for whom you say you want to achieve these things do not trust, you have a problem. And that has to be addressed. Because if it isn't addressed, then everything that you say, good as it is, will fall on deaf ears.
How should the government address this? Because, yes, there's clearly something needs to happen between the government and the people, so then the people can start trusting the government more, right? So then if they trust the government, so when the government says, let's do this and the other, people can see, this is the idea, this is the plan, and they can ask one or two questions, and even in the areas where you don't understand what has been said, you at least give them the benefit of the doubt because, I just don't get it, but maybe I'll get it down the road. The problem where we have today is people, if I don't get it, I just don't trust that you even have the best intentions at all with whatever idea you're coming up with. What should the government do?
Eric, it is you actually gave me this idea. We've discussed what we're saying now, what we're discussing now, in various forms and shapes and sizes over time, over years, in fact. And you kept saying, we need to have a Boma-like conversation as a country, where people feel it's not these few elected leaders who are talking, but the whole country, meaning people have gone around, views have been collected. It may seem tedious. Town hall meetings have been had, not once, not twice. The diversity of issues that Kenyans feel are a problem have been brought up, and people have come. We are not here for a day. We are here today. We are going to be here tomorrow. We are here for the whole week, so people can keep coming. And people feel, time has been taken for them to actually understand what we feel or what we think, and it's documented. And the discussion is then taken to the next level. Now, when you said it, I heard it, but I didn't internalize it. You see, that captures the spirit of public participation, so that people feel this sovereignty that the Constitution bequeaths, the Constitution gives them, is actually being taken seriously. You're being told, we have a situation on our hands. These are the things we'd like us to talk about. Okay? Now, this is how we're going to go about it, so that, and we'll give it this period of time, so that you say what you like, so that we know exactly. As we gather, we will even hear of suggestions as to what we ought to do. Not every individual or groupings of individuals can get together and create a memorandum which they will give. The memorandums are very good. They are documents. People feel better when they feel they have had an opportunity to actually speak about something, and in speaking have been heard. The import of that is weightier. Now, I'm saying you pointed me in that direction because when I look at the issue of trust, there is no magic bullet to it, because the mistrust doesn't come overnight. It is broken promises over a period of time, to the point where people feel these people never keep their promises. They said computers were, and yet some people didn't get computers. They said they were going to do this, and yet some of it may happen, but their circumstance, whatever reason you want to give, when people get to the point where they actually don't want to hear what you're saying, but they're polite enough that they listen, but they're going to believe you anyway. Meaning,
they don't believe you at all.
Even before you say that, but they will listen, but they don't believe you.
It's like entertainment.
Yes.
It's like, okay, so, all right, so let's hear what is going to
Let's hear what they're going to say today.
There. I told you something was going to... What did he say? Boda boda. I said
something was going to come.
He was going to come up with something new.
What did I tell you?
Because that was the collective reaction of the country yesterday. It was, we've heard you about housing before. Tell us, you've told us about Hustler Fund. Yeah, we've heard that before. Continue. Universal healthcare. We've heard that.
Open university. Is that a new one or a new one? No, it's okay. So it's university.
Then he said, electric boda boda. I was like, That's the one.
Thank
for
you
today.
very much. Yes.
That's the one for today. No, we have a new one. It's electric boda boda.
And you say, and then it is premised on the understanding that it will cost you less. Somebody asks, so the price of electricity is going to go down.
I just clicked. My goodness.
Yeah, okay. Price of fuel, we've understood that. But electricity. So we move from petrol to electricity. And then the price of electricity, what was it again? So, and the problem is that this is something that the entire Kenyan nation is getting to a point where if you just listen to the way we have discourse, people are no longer even annoyed.
No. But think about it. Was humor not an escape route from a lot of the issues.
Yes,
that we
it
have.
is. Yes,
and
it is.
It has always been, and it continues to be that, okay, we get to the point where you just start to laugh about it because
Even music.
you've cried, you've been angry, you've lamented, you've begged, you've told, you've done everything.
Said okay.
Until now, it actually genuinely becomes funny when you start to hear things like this.
Yeah.
Because truth of the matter is, September will come. Isn't it?
Yes.
September will
Electric
all these
border borders are actually
they're already there already.
There are already many
But in terms
electric
of
border borders.
in terms of
electric mobility is something that the government started. Even the previous administration, they started. Remember, even Kenya Power has had conversations on what is it that we need to do to go into electric mobility. We've talked about Namata saying, in fact, let's look at electric mobility. We have those Basigo and the others on the roads. We have electric buses on the road, electric border borders on the road. When the president is saying this, it's actually not something strange.
No, it doesn't, because they exist.
That is the problem,
it's not
Eric.
strange. Is it a possibility that we can have more border borders on the road by September? Absolutely.
Of course we can.
It is a possibility.
Eric,
but people are
there
just
lies
sitting
the
back and they're like,
problem. But Eric, there lies the problem, because you know what it does to you? It's like the proverbial frog who is in the water and it's being warmed up and it doesn't know when the temperature has become so hot that it actually kills it. That you, because you know in your mind, you can imagine, okay, I can actually see it. This can actually happen. But what lies behind a promise, and this is the thing, what lies behind a promise is the intent to actually do it. Not the, you can say anything as much as you want, but do you have an actual intent to do it, or are you trying to placate people because of all this other drama? And you say, actually, well, you know, this one is hard, but they're going to provide electric motorcycles, and so life will be better for the
Do you
hustler.
know, for the last 5 years...
What is the intent behind the promise? And that's why, for me, don't say anything. Let it just be hard. Don't say anything.
You know how you lose trust is when people do not witness, they do not experience the fruition of what you said you were going
Exactly.
to do. Okay? Now, so when it is lost, how then do you regain it? People start seeing things you've said you will do being done. You see, the other day when we had the principal secretary in the State Department of Housing, and I asked him this question about national housing. It was a deliberate question because of this. And he was in his element. He answered it beautifully. You see, this affordable housing was a program the government had. The agent through which the government actualized it was national housing.
Yep.
And the government built very many houses. It's a simple truth. Very many. Then World Bank came in, Bretton Woods institutions came in and said what they said, and that process was reversed. But let's just talk about the success by looking at the estates that we've had that were built and that people live in it. It is true. So can it be done? Yes, it can be done. Has it been done before? Yes, it has been done before. So we are not talking about a concept that is alien. But now, this particular concept that we are now talking of, you asked me the question. When you feel you need to demonstrate something and make it a reality, I would suggest this. These housings that we're talking about, can you please build houses for the police? Police, GSU, administration police, build houses. These are government employees. They have salaries, you know. Build for them so that there is no AP, no member of the police service who can say, no GSU can say they don't have a house. Start there. We will see the houses. Why do I pick on them? Because regular police, not GSU who are in camps, not APs, regular police have some of the worst, deplorable housing conditions that any human being can wish for.
even the APs and the GSUs in those camps, in fact.
Those metal things that they live in, and
those are the worst.
Now, these are people who you entrust with the security of the country, and you deprive them of dignity through the housing process. You settle that first. You are talking about trust. It will be clear. We will see. Excuse the example. See, they did. Yes,
we can start seeing, and I think the thing about what the president he clearly is talking about things that he knows are happening, bit by bit. across various government departments. Housing, yes, there's some housing going on. When you talk about like now that on the electric mobility, it's actually happening. When you talk about universal housing, there's whatever they are doing at NHIF, we don't know, but whatever they are doing at NHIF. The problem is that we are so used to hearing a promise. Every new day is a new promise. And then when you ask a question, you defer the promise by introducing a new promise. The promise was LPG was going to get cheaper. So when is LPG getting cheaper? Actually, we'll start with the cylinder.
It was supposed to be June, this June.
Yes. And it'll be cylinder. You see now, the gas itself, that's why we're putting in the measures in the finance bill, so that the taxes, we remove all these taxes, then the gas will actually get cheaper. But on top of that, you add something else. And people now have gotten to a point where these are stories.
Yes.
This guy is a storyteller, so we'll always be sitting there and just listening to Hello Children. I'm hiding there, laughing hyena.
With Auntie
Elizabeth Omolo. Listen to today's story, and you're like, we go home. There's a problem.
There's a big problem.
And we need to address it.
And guess what? And just like you're saying, with every promise, the believability factor drops a record number of points. Because you come and say another one tomorrow, just like you're saying, nobody will actually believe what it is that you say. And the problem with that is that when it comes to a position that you put yourself in, that you want to actually deliver, nobody is going to believe you. We can have a list of the things that were promised. We can have a list right now of the things that were told in 6 months' time, in 3 months' time, in 9 months' time, these things would have been done. And you can also tick off how many were actually done. Even in terms of progress. When people were suffering, before it started raining and the drought was in the country, what were we told? 100 dams will be built over I don't know how long. Where is the first one that has been done? Where is it? Where is the first dam? That, forget about done, because it's not possible. It will take a while. Forget about done. Where is the first one where there's even a plan to say it is here, this is what is actually happening, these are the boots on the ground, and this is what they're actually doing? Where is it?
Can I contribute to what you're saying, because, if I may?
Please, you can.
Yes. Yeah. Consider, for instance, something which is a thorn in our flesh and a contentious issue, and a terribly contentious one. CBC teachers. Yeah. We have trained teachers in the country. They exist. Okay? We don't have to look for them elsewhere. We're actually exporting them. Why don't you just ensure that there are enough teachers? Because you can do it. The teachers they are here. As we're looking for money to pay these pending bills, which is a colossal amount of money, is it also possible to also look for money for pending teachers? Because these teachers have not, the schools do not have adequate teachers. I mean, they are low-hanging fruit.
There are things that can be done that ought to be done.
Yes.
On teachers, remember he says, this is the first time that 35,000 teachers are being hired at a go.
Eric,
in the 60 years of independence. The conversation that we're having this morning is with regards to trust. Very many things that the president said yesterday, just talking about what his government is doing, as his administration is doing, the focus areas. Talked about several of them: housing, universal health coverage. You talked about what they're doing in terms of mobility, what they're doing for education, what they're doing about agriculture, and the establishment of the county industrial parks, being set aside in the budget for the county industrial parks to be established across the country in collaboration with the county governments. Also looking at additional export processing zones in Sagana, in Thika, in Joro, in Eldoret, and in Busia. New EPZs to be set up in those areas, and the multiply effect of those. And people sitting back and just listening to the president and just hearing things that are being said. And the question is, how many people actually listen to these promises now by the president, by the deputy, by the other cabinet ministers, and take them to heart and see, yes, there's actually things that we are going to do. They are saying things, are people believing them. There's something called stories of Jaba in this country, right? People who just sit down and chew mira. Right?
Okay.
People sit down and chew mira. After at certain level, when the mira has now done the thing that it's supposed to do, whether it's mira or muguka, the brain becomes very creative. So you find out that this creativity now, a guy starts telling you a story. A guy called Mutweri, for example, sitting somewhere in Chogoria, sitting down with his at the Mogoka base. Unajua jana niliongea na Ruto. Ruto mgani? Ruto, president. Tunaongea naye jana. Alinipigia. Unajua mtu anapigianga tu watu hivyo fua. Alinipigia jana. Kuongea nini? Alinipigia tu. Nani yeye anakuongelesha? Huyo ni William. Wewe unaongea na nani? Si unaongea na Mutweri. Mutweri uko wapi? Si niko hapa Shakoria. Huyo ni Ruto president. Tuliongea na Ruto na nilimwambia akikunja mimi ndio nitaongelesha watu kwa stadium. Ngoja uone. Stories za Jaba. You listen to a guy's story and you're like, the way you have woven that tale, my friend, you are so creative.
It's beautiful.
This is beautiful. And you're actually coming up with it as we go. That's what people are thinking now about our president. And every time our president is talking. And it's unfortunate.
But it's true.
That the leader of the people actually talks to them and guys are just sitting back and like, now this is
next, which is the next one?
Bring tea, bring popcorn. Let's listen.
And they live in a club.
Yes.
They told you people that in 6 months' time, Kenya will have produced its first phone. That is June.
We have electricity. LPG is going down. What else are we doing?
Dams, 100.
Yeah. Galana Kulalu, now we are forgetting. In 3 months' time, we'll have a PPP framework, and this PPP framework will help us.
So that we understand it better, we'll first start farming in Malawi and Zambia. Then after that, we'll continue our farming here.
Yeah.
Saying, okay, we'll
just listening at this sound like they sound like stories, and people have just said, okay, this guy is our entertainer, we pay him to entertain us, and then he's taxing us for it. We, like City, you said, the government ought to take this thing seriously and ought to realize that something needs to happen. Something different needs to happen.
Okay, sorry.
And we need to address these things of understanding how you get people to start trusting the government again. This is not a problem that was started by William Ruto.
No.
He's perpetuating and exacerbating it. It was there even in the previous administration. And every time we kept saying, Mr. President, how about even when you're addressing us today, don't give us anything new in form of a promise.
Please.
Just tell us the truth. Today, just do one thing. Just say the truth. The rest is okay. We shall deal with it. Let's hear from Anthony, who's calling from Mombasa. Good morning, Anthony.
Morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
From what I hear, ni kama watu wanatamani enzi za Moi.
Wametamani nini?
Enzi za Moi.
Enzi za Moi.
Remember how Moi used to give side roads, yani sheria kwa barabara tu na inakuwa implemented. The thing is this, saizi, with whatever promise you make, I will reduce tax, I will do this, I will do that. From the new constitution, you have some things you have to have acts of parliament, honestly. You cannot just wake up and say this will happen and that will happen. So, right now, hii financial bill hii inakuja hii hapa imeleta moto mingi sana. So many things have been lumped inside there.
Yep.
Sheria mingi sana zimewekwa. Mambo ya LPG imewekwa hapo ndani. Mambo ya pikipiki electrical, not electrical pikipiki alone, but electrical vehicles imewekwa hapo ndani.
Yep.
So, hata privatization usikulikuja hulabalu, then it disappears.
Yep.
Kumbe imesundwa hapo ndani. So many things that the president will say, he cannot enact them if he does not take them to parliament first. Unfortunately, mimi naweza sema ameisema mapema. Angengoja kwanza hiyo bill ipite. Then he tells us that by the way, that hiyo bill vile imepita, LPG itapungua because of 1, 2, 3, electrical vehicles 1, 2, 3, hizo mambo za dams kujenga. You cannot just wake up and build a dam out of nowhere.
Yep.
Yes. Alafu pia nimependa vile pia amesema low lying fruit, sio?
Low hanging.
Mambo ya nyumba ya askari, mambo ya walimu. hiyo pesa inatoka wapi? We get taxed more. Unaona, tuko na deni ya ajabu. We need to pay it back. But still, we need also to be given new services or most of our problems to be taken away. So, either tukubali tutaksiwe sana, ama wacha tulipe deni na tutulie tu. No maendeleo, no nothing. Tulipe deni kwanza. Tulipe deni kwanza. Serikali isimame. Tulipe deni na the normal services, malipo salaries, na tuangalie kama tupunguze corruption. But if we want tulipe deni na bado maendeleo iendelee, kuna mahali tutaumia na ni sisi tu. Yes. So saizi hata hii bill sababu inapigwa vita is because there are so many laws inside it that will affect so many sectors at a go.
Yep.
So ukiona watu wakizusha is because sekta yao imeumia. So they decide, why don't we just campaign hii bill tuiangushe in total.
Let me ask you a direct question.
Yes, sir.
Do you have trust in government? On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the highest and 0 being very low trust.
Yes, sir.
How would you rate your trust in the government?
I do not trust anything the government will say if there's no any supporting law. Okay. Because how do you hold that person accountable?
Okay.
Because sasa mtu amekwambia nitakufanyia kitu fulani na hakuna sheria. Honestly. Hiyo si ni panganga tu.
Sawa.
Hiyo ndio story za Jaba.
Sawa. Thank you, Anthony.
But once the law is there, then now we can hold them accountable.
Thank you. Victor Ndakuru, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Very well.
What about you in the studio?
We are very well, thank you. Tell me, Victor, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being the lowest, 10 being the highest in terms of trust in government, how much do you trust the government?
Wait, can I even attempt to trust a limited company? No, I don't.
Why?
I can't even attempt to trust a limited company. There's a company which is being run. It's a show of two people. No, I don't even trust those people. I don't at all.
Why? Lost him. Charles, good morning.
Good morning to Eric, City, Muga. You guys are doing a great job.
Asante.
And I like the idea of Muga, for the president first to facilitate the police force with the houses. It makes a lot of sense. That would be a good example. Yeah, on a scale of what? No. Yes, I feel we are judging the government a little bit early. We need to give more time. However, I have a lot of concern. The president yet to convince us that he is in control, that there will be no leakage, there will be no monies lost. The 3% levy is asking about. We already know a lot of monies that are being stolen in this government. What measures is he putting first that we have that money back? You know, if you are convincing the headmaster you have a debt in school, and then want to convince or rather put a bargain with the school teacher for your arrears, you need to show good intention of clearing the previous balance, and then that they can judge you on the basis of that. Now, when the president just wakes up and tells us, trust me, yes, we will trust you, but we already know that our money has been stolen. What efforts are you doing to bring that money back as we plow, as we contribute towards the levy kitty? That's my feeling.
Thank you, Charles. Veronica and Eldred, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Whom am I speaking to?
This is Spice FM. Did you call us?
Yes, I did.
All right. We're talking about trust in government.
Yes, and I'm seeing there's a rating that has been given there. And my rating is -1.
Why?
My hopes are dashed completely. Completely. I really don't see where we are going with this government.
Veronica, your TV is on and it's confusing you. I think that's where our problem is. Let's hear from Robert. Robert, good morning.
Good morning, too.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How is City and Muga?
Well, both of them in one are fine.
Well, the combo is fine.
I was in Uganda. Those guys really love you.
Asante sana.
Yes, these things of trust. You know, the moment you've been lied to more than 3 times, it becomes a norm that everything that you are being told is most likely bound to be another bigger lie. And my father once told me that if you tell a lie the day before yesterday, yesterday itself you would need a bigger lie to cover what you said the day before yesterday. By today, you would have to create a bigger lie to cover up for the last 2 days.
Yeah.
So by tomorrow, you would be telling a lie that is so open to everybody to recognize that this guy is just lying to us. So I think this government has gone into that trajectory where it's been telling a small lie, creating a bigger lie to cover up the small lie, to a point whereby when it talks about anything right now, it just looks like a lie.
Becomes like a pyramid scheme now, multi-level marketing.
Not even a pyramid. Umesikia sasa the word lies, imekuwa tukufu lies, you know, with that accent.
Tukufu lies.
In a scale of 1 to 10, you definitely know mine.
No, we don't.
Tell us.
It's tending towards 0.
Robert. So, have a good day, Nandi.
You too, guys.
Cindy in Eldoret, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Very fine, thank you.
Hi, how do you trust a government that doesn't trust itself?
How do you know it doesn't trust itself?
It doesn't trust itself. You see, the deputy president comes out and says the former president connected to Mungiki. Then the CS in charge of internal security says he doesn't know. So the government's just confused. I think we made a mistake by voting this government. How do you say a motorbike, an electric motorbike will be here in 3 months? Yet when you check the price of a motorbike in India is 280,000 shillings, Kenya shillings, before you import it. How will an ordinary border get that bike in 3 months?
This is an electric one.
An electric one is 280,000 Kenya before you import it from India, a boxer one. Now, as a president stands up and says that it will appear in 3 months, surely, is that fair? The president is lying too much, and I think that is the trend. He's just lying too much. Why did he wait until we see the motorbike instead of telling us, like just what Cindy is saying? Do it. Let's see the plan. But now we have no plan. Which plan is there to import an electric motorbike? Where are the charging stations that you have put across the country? So that when you roll out the electric motorbike, we have a charging station. We have none.
Thank you, Tindi. We hear you. Let's hear from Alex. Alex in Kitengela, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, to arrive where we are, we have to understand what Kenyans are and who we are. I've had a privilege of interacting with other people from different parts of the country, the world, I mean. And you can see Kenyans are very opinionated. Like, they'll always have an opinion about everything. That's why we like politics. We think we know what's the right thing we have to do. And then another part of us is we are very dishonest. We are very dishonest. We are politicians and we are very dishonest. All of us. It's not that the government or anything. And if you're saying also that we trust the government, you know, there are like 3 arms of the government, right? It's not only like the executive, the other arms of the government, and the other people who, like even the PS who came to the studio to discuss about the housing plan. He made us realize, or maybe me realize, that despite the politicians making all those noises on top of vehicles, there are some people who are actually doing the work. And the weakest link we have is the politician. So the politician will keep on like these guys, they are just like salesmen, you know. They'll always sell you anything. They'll oversell actually. But behind that, there are some guys who are really putting in the work, you know. But despite that work being done, the Kenyans who are dishonest, who are even judging the government now, saying they don't trust the government. Whenever they are put in that position, they will do something funny. They'll try stealing, or they'll just do something funny, you know.
Thank you,
so
Alex.
we should not be harsh with the government.
Thank you, Alex. PK in Limuru.
Thank you very much, LATIFF. Huh?
Good morning.
Morning too. You know, this government has become like the short stories book we used to read in high school. Where we used to have, a certain book with a certain name, then end with other short stories. And this government has been the same. Each and every day they are just, making empty promises. And, yesterday I was so, much annoyed because I was listening to try and see whether, the promises that were made initially we are going to have any progress on the same. But it's just heaping on other short stories about promises which are not going to be fulfilled. I think this government has lost it. And rating it between 1 and 10, I give them a solid -2 because I don't really have trust in this government. I don't know whether they are going to be able to deliver.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you, PK. Mark in Umoja, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning to you. Switch off your radio, please.
Yeah, natoka Umo. Bwana, huyu jamaa alikuwa kwa ile serikali imepita. Promises ngapi ya jamaa alituambia?
Kadhaa
bwana. So mimi si fala nifate vitu ananiambia. Sasa hii mimi kwenye nafanya job. Taxes zimekaa mingi mpaka Wahindi sasa hii tunaambiwa atukai contract, tunataka tutolewe kuandikwa tuweke kwa contract. Because hizi taxes zimekuwa more. Kwa wazito wa industrial area hawezi stahimili. So unapata kila kampuni, nyinyi labda mwezi jua, kila kampuni saa hii inang'ang'ana kuweka watu kwa contract ndio vitu zingine wasiinikae cost zingine.
Right.
So sisi huyu jamaa hawezi tudanganya kabisa. Ako done kabisa huyo. Ni mkora.
Mark, thank you. Thank you for calling 0719012600. We always appreciate having conversations with you. So the message basically here is, for many of the people that have talked about the level of trust that they have, whenever they hear the government saying something or the other, and they're like, like CTU said, this is a message to government. You ought to think of what is it that has gotten people to where they are, to a level where they hear you, they just hear a promise, they don't feel like you are walking the talk with them, including how you're spending money, including how when you say that you're going to roll out a budget and you want us to finance that budget, do we trust that the things that we are putting in that budget are actually going to do what has been put in the budget? Or do we think that it's going to be misappropriated and misused? It's a big thing. It's a big issue.
Spice.